yourself.
Okay.
Hello, this is the Vet Voice Podcast with Jared Craig. Let me restart that. That was not very good. Take two. All right. This is the Vet Voice Podcast with Veterans for America First. I'm Jared Craig, the host of the podcast, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Derrick Jackson, who is the Georgia ambassador for the Jexit Organization. So, Derrick, could you please explain to our viewers a little bit about who you are and what you are doing right now?
Thank you, sir. Well, I am the ambassador for Jexit. Jexit basically stands for Jews and others exiting the Democratic Party. It was founded by a very dynamic lady, Michelle Lubin Terrace, who together with several other ladies manage and run the organization. No men. I'm the only guy that's ambassador. Michelle is this energized little bunny that runs around, and she's grown the organization into 30,000 followers. And what happened was I was involved with the Trump campaign since 2016. And I just think we have a formidable person in Donald Trump. He has my unlimited support. I love him to bits. My biggest dream is to just shake his hand and say, "Sir, well done." And that will happen, I believe, one day. What happened was in 2018, I believe, 2019, Michelle and I met and we connected. And what happened then was we obviously share the same values: God, country, people, constitution, everything what Donald talks about. I don't mean to disparage him by saying Donald, but Mr. President talks about, we adhere to. We've got to return this country to law and order. Otherwise, we are going downhill faster than a train with steam. And what happened was, I was fortunate. Um, I have a friend who's quite a prominent personality. He's a former 2 times Wimbledon Open tennis champion. And we believe in the same stuff. He's also my business partner. And I told him he met Michelle. They both live in Florida. I'm the I'm the backroom boy because I live in Georgia. And Michelle asked us to speak at her events, which we did. I must have spoken at about, I don't know, 3 or 4 events. And the next thing she said to me, she called me the beginning of this year, and she said, "We want to make you an offer. You're not going to refuse." I said, "Knock me out." She says, "We like what you stand for. We like your values. Bottom line, would you consider being our ambassador in Georgia?" And I said, "You know what? I won't even say I'll think about it. I'm in. My hat's in the ring." And obviously, sir, Georgia's a different kettle of fish. Nothing happens in Georgia overnight. You know that. Whether it's political, economic, whatever standpoint you're trying to pursue, it doesn't happen overnight. So this happened, I believe it was in March or April, and I've been pottering around with Jexit. And then a lady who you know, Lisa Babbage, we've been friends since the Trump campaign. And we actually created a website called America Strong. And Lisa and I have been friends, and a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, 4, 6 weeks ago, she asked me to be on the panel of Georgia Unite. And I was very excited because I have the utmost respect for Lisa. She's a tigress and she's a loyal Trumpian. And we formed America Strong. And then she asked me to speak, which I agreed to. And I must be quite honest, I didn't know what I was letting myself in for, but I agreed to do it. And I'll tell you something, sir. that it was a magnificent day. I felt the passion. I saw the audience. There must have been, what, 200, 250 people there. It was dynamic. So, in a nutshell, our whole role of being Jexit is to stop this corruption, this collusion of, I want to call it treachery, that's currently being committed by the Biden administration. And I think we all spoke about it on Saturday.
Well, let me ask you were talking about the current administration going so far left.
Yes, sir.
And your organization is concerning the Jewish and others who are jumping ship from the Democratic Party. Do you believe that that momentum of so many jumping ship from the Jewish community or any community is because that the Democratic Party has gone so far to the left that there is no place for these moderates, and that the only logical option is to join with the Republican Party, who at least has a long-term goal to keep the country operating?
So, yes, the Democratic Party of today is not the Democratic Party of JFK nor Bill Clinton, for that matter. It's gone so far left, it's unrecognizable. And what we're experiencing through Jexit is the support is growing at such a rate because nobody can recognize these bunch of corrupt people trying to ruin our country. And we've got to stop it. And I think Jexit is doing a formidable job. I think we have a long way to go for recognition. We need to get the word out there. And this opportunity of the past weekend certainly proved that there's scope for an organization like Jexit.
Well, what issues, when you speak to the people, you speak to the organization, the leaders, what are the main issues that you see people jumping from one party to the other? Is there anything that jumps out as a commonality?
Oh, yes, there is. And I'll make it very simple. America is not America anymore. I'm sorry to say that. It's not. Sir, I've been here 25 years and I don't recognize it. From the America I came to back in 2000 to what it is today, it's not the same America. There's racial tension, there's confrontation, there's intolerance, there's conflict. I mean, besides the inflation, besides anything else, this is not America. America to me was the symbol of freedom. It's no longer the symbol of freedom with these absolute dictators in power.
Yeah, I think that as I've traveled, one thing that I think Americans are naive about is the fact that other countries depend on us to be the anchor of liberty, to be the anchor of individual rights, and that the hopes in other countries around the world for their own country stems from the efforts and the constitutional republic that we've created here in the United States over the past couple of hundred years. And that if people, even that they're not directly invested in the United States, when they see us fail, they are losing hope for their own nation. That's something that I think people who have traveled or have international contacts, we're aware of, that a lot of the American voters just take for granted.
Sir, I've often said this. I come from a country and I don't have citizenship of South Africa anymore. I gave it up. To take up 100% citizenship in this country and to prove to the world I am an American. And what I have seen in South Africa, just for a quick correlation, America is going down the same route. Corruption in government, inflation, racism, conflict, it's unheard of and it's intolerable. And I move around a lot. I have a business office in Las Vegas. So I get out a lot. And what I'm experiencing is the fact that we are going to see the biggest red wave we've ever seen because Americans have had enough. Enough is enough. They can't tolerate it anymore. I speak to people at the gas station, at the supermarket, at church. Wherever I go, I talk to people all the time. I have a huge network, and the Americans might be silent, but let me tell you, you're going to see the force of Americans at the ballot box on the 7th of November.
I surely hope so, because this country cannot go too far in the left agenda before we are left with something unrecognizable. So I definitely believe that there's going to be a lot of swing voters for the first time to come vote for Republicans, or otherwise they won't be very motivated to vote pro-Democrat. Um, the candidates in my opinion, on the Democratic side, disjunctive. They don't have a thread of connectivity between one Democratic campaign and the other. Whereas I think a lot of the Republican candidates and the campaigns have, at least an America First agenda, where we can put together a thread of something that really makes sense. But are you hearing any resistance from any groups, specifically trying to counteract the effect of Jexit? Are there any groups that are trying to pull Jexit exiters back to the Democratic Party, or are you just seeing them just wholesale? Do what you want, go away. We don't want you anyway. What's the nature of the conflict between Jexit Organization and any competing interests?
You know what? That's a pretty important question. I do believe we will see some resistance as we grow, as we expand our influence and our territory. But for the most part, I mean, there's always attacks on the state of Israel, on Jews per se. We know that. We expect that because you are dealing with a bunch of left wing terrorists in a nutshell. They don't want to see Judaism survive. They don't. Joe Biden is certainly not a supporter of the Jews or Israel. The only real supporter of the Jews was Donald Trump. And you know, sir, as well as I know, these Democrats have done everything humanly possible to stop his influence and negate his growth. And
Well,
that,
go
sorry?
ahead. One question I was going to ask, I didn't mean to cut you off just there, but one question I was going to ask is the effect of the symbolic relocation of the embassy by Donald Trump. When he relocated the embassy in Israel, was that a big decider for any of the Jewish or other people who have uh, jumped ship from the Democratic Party, or did that impact any of their decisions? Or what's your thought about that?
You know, that's a very good question. For the most part, Jews are leftist. We know that. I think in context, we have to analyze that the Jews who are more right wing uh, favor the right wing, they supported it and were ecstatic. But there's a large group, and we mustn't be disillusioned by or uninformed about what's happening, that were certainly not impressed by 45's actions concerning the embassy. Because the Jews are hated. We know it. We expect it. I mean, it's unfair. Anti Semitism is rife, whether it be in Atlanta, Georgia, or Macon, Georgia, or LA, across the globe. There's a huge following of anti Semitism. So, for the most part, I think your conservative Jews were ecstatic because that's the realization of a God given prayer. They moved that embassy, and I couldn't believe it happened at such a good time. Mr. Trump planned it, with such precision. But he angered a lot of his opponents. That's why they will never leave him alone, because he loves the Jews, he loves the state of Israel. He's the only American president who has stood up for Israel. And he's hated for that. And we have to protect and pray for his safety. That man is going to take this country back to where it belongs, where it rightfully belongs, as the leading nation in the free world.
Well, you brought up something about the anti-Semitic, open anti-Semitic actors out there. And from my knowledge, they seem to all be leaders of the Democratic Party that seemingly are openly anti-Semitic and unapologetic. That they're almost proud of it. How does that sit well with the Jewish people from your perspective?
You know what? What you've just said is 100% correct. Um, these democratic leaders, and I can't even refer to them as leaders, they're a bunch of vile, corrupt, anti American people who want to ensure the destruction of the United States of America. And any opportunity to degrade, to insult, hurt, bring down the state of Israel, they will absolutely ensure and try and enforce. So, I mean, I don't have to go into you more versed than I am on this topic, but you look at Schumer, look at that AOC. I mean, for crying out aloud, how
In
did she
Omar,
get to where she got?
I'm saying, don't forget Ilhan Omar.
Oh, please, absolutely. She's the most vile, despicable person on two legs. I mean it. I don't hold my horses, because they are only in Congress to further their own selfish political ambitions and bring down Israel.
Yeah, I firmly agree with you on that. Well, I do appreciate you spending your time today to inform our audience of the Jexit organization and your history of working with the Trump campaigns. Um, do you have any websites or social media sites that you'd like to plug where people could find out more about Derrick Jackson, maybe reach out to you for making some sponsorships, donations, or even volunteering?
You know what? That will be awesome. I have a business, but I don't want to bring the two together. But between Jexit is, I have two interests in life: my business and Jexit. So the way to get hold of me would be, I'm happy. May I give my telephone number, or is that
That's up to
not
you,
allowed?
sure, if you'd like. I don't know how your screening process is, but that would be up to you if you'd like to share that.
I don't have a problem, because I'm very approachable and I believe in the art of communication. So my name is Derrick, Derrick Jackson. My telephone number is 404-933-7273. I live in Sandy Springs. I have a personal email. I will not give out my business email. My personal email is Derrick Jackson 7273 @gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm very approachable. I need to grow Jexit in Georgia, uh, for the benefit of Jexit per se. And we value and need all the help we can get in fighting these corrupt anti-Semites.
Well, I do appreciate you stepping up and fighting the good fight. So I look forward to, after this election, doing a recap with a lot of our guests to say, hey, look what we were hoping and look what we have. And hopefully the red wave will wash over Washington, D.C. and take some of the swamp creatures and shove them to the shore, or at least send them home. So,
Sir, I can say this in closing: this is going to be the biggest red wave that ever hit America. And God bless you, what you do, and God bless the American people.
Well, I certainly hope so, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure. Have a good day.
You too.